fucking T-Rex.
Has the fourth largest brain.
In the planet's history outside of the whales.
Well, I did not. I mean, I
In
thought.
other words, road runner from hell and kind of smart.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, because I was always, taught, back in school that T Rex only had the brain the size of a walnut.
No, it's not. They've actually done CAT scans on Sue up in the Chicago Field Museum. It's got a big brain.
So that means it could do all kinds of things. It might even had a form of
Yeah,
communication.
they they hunted in groups. They had social structures. They were vicious as fucking hell. And by the time they got close to 30, they were pretty physically broke down from a lot of injuries and stuff. But they were some real badasses. They now think they got as big as 10, 12,000, 18,000 pounds.
Holy
That
shit.
is one road runner from hell.
Yeah. I mean, just think how much food they would have to consume to maintain that weight.
Yeah, and they were warm blooded.
Wait. They weren't cold blooded like all other
Nope.
reptiles?
No, that dinosaurs were not cold blooded. They were warm blooded, just like birds. They've got the vascular structure of a bird. They've got all of the indicia in terms of the growth rings and the bones to show that they were warm blooded, and the metabolism that would have been required to do what they seem to have done required that they probably ran a constant body temperature of about 101, 102.
Man, that's. See, now, I
Just
mean,
like
that's
a
news
bird.
to
The
me, but.
bird, see, here's the new thing. They don't, they've changed the designation of birds. Guess what birds are now classified as?
What?
Dinosaurs.
Man, everything's changing so damn quickly.
See, biologically, a bird is in fact a dinosaur. Just like a bat is a mammal, a bat can fly, but it's a mammal. A
Right?
bird is a dinosaur. It's just a flighted bird, a dinosaur.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. That really does. But dang. I, and this draws me right back to the scientists conjuring up one of these beasts that you just described. I mean, a smart T Rex, tonnage running around here. I mean, obviously, hopefully, it would never escape. But that would be a serious beast to contend with.
Well, yeah.
I mean, wow. Well, on that note, I mean, it's 3 hours, but I did take the liberty of recording this for the people. Um, it's just amazing. I mean, we went
Yeah.
from
Well, I don't know if they'd be interested in dinosaurs, but I mean, I figured it would be a hell of a thing to waste the other discussion on what's happening with black people in society.
right. Well, but honestly, we started off with Mueller report. We just blazed through that, and then we hit, like you said, black folks in society. But it was the information about law and how it's truly applied. I mean, ever since you told me about that, it really hit me about how they intentionally took law out of our schools, Judge. I mean, this is stuff to help you be a better citizen. It's not meant to scare you. We're not the boogeyman. We're trying to make better
No,
citizens, aren't we?
I know, but see, they dummied down the schools. When schools started integrating in large portions of the country, ah, it cut back on the things that people would deal with. Black folk had their problems with it. White folk had their problems with it. And the educational process got dummied down. One bad thing that happened with the educational process is the quality of the teachers. And you know what that went downhill on?
When?
When they gave women other opportunities professionally besides being teachers.
Mm,
You have had women that would now be executives, doctors, lawyers, engineers, scientists, were confined to being teachers back when.
that is true. And
You also, when the income level was a lot more lucrative relative to what everybody else was getting, a lot of men that chose the teaching profession. They had
mm,
just gotten off of farms, first person in the family to get an education, gotten out of the army, they were teachers.
man, but then honestly, they they kind of wrecked the whole family unit though when they did that, Judge.
Well,
The,
yeah. See, I remember fifth grade we discussed log rolling. You know what log rolling is?
mm-mm. What is it?
Politics. I'm a Republican, you're a Democrat. Sometimes you help me roll my log, I help you roll yours.
Oh, scratch my back and I scratch yours.
Yeah, so there's bipartisan stuff. When we were in school in California, we learned in the fifth and sixth grade about the evils of Southern politics. You know what those evils were?
What were they?
The politicians and elected officials on a local and state level were part time and they got paid very little. That induced them to pursue corruption to flesh out their incomes. Whereas if you paid them a decent wage, you attracted a higher caliber of person to the position of legislator. So he put more into it and you got wiser legislation.
Wow. I don't get. I kind of don't get that in a way.
In other words, you pay a man a decent salary for being a legislator.
Right.
He acts as a legislator. He doesn't spend most of his time trying to get bribes and crooked deals to flesh out his income.
That's so that theoretically that's true, but I know for a fact that just because they're getting paid good doesn't mean they're still not going to have that hand out for the bribe or
No, but I mean, take it this way. A person who is an elected official in the West or Midwest, someplace, and he got paid $120,000 a year for doing what he does. At the time, that was pretty good money.
Oh yes.
But you take the same person and you pay him $9,000 a year for doing the same thing in the South. What's he gonna do?
He's gonna have to keep on doing that if he wants to make that money.
Yeah, in other words, it was one thing when it was envisioned that there would be rich planters or industrialists who would be holding these positions because they had an obligation as good citizens. It's another thing when you got somebody who happens to be elected. He's not an industrialist. He's not got an important VIP type. He's using his political office for personal gain. And at 9, 10, 12,000 a year, he's got to do something to bring in more to make it worth his time. So he's a crook.
Yep. There it is. There it is. I mean, some people have even suggested that our president right now is in some ways using his political power or his political position to enrich himself.
Actually, he's not. You know, he's the only president in the country's history who has never drawn a paycheck.
That's that's right. So he really did fall through with that. He's not getting a paycheck.
Well, you see, here's the difference. This is unusual in the country's history. He's a fat cat at the top. Ordinarily, politicians are beholden to the likes of him.
Right.
He's a statesman because he's like the English aristocracy when it comes to financial wherewithal. He doesn't make significant money off of it. It's peanuts. He makes so little in comparison to his regular income, he doesn't even collect his paycheck.
Wow. Wow, that says so much.
In other words, usually your elected officials aspire to the type of money this guy has.
Right. They wish they could have his money, but he has the
Yeah,
money.
but do you know who the wealthiest person to be president has been in the country's history?
Yeah, only because I talked to you in the past, and that would be Barack Obama.
Yeah, his adopted daddy was one of the 10 to 15 richest men on earth when he died. And he
Lord
left
Santorum.
everything to his adopted son, Barack, and his two children, one girl, one boy. One of them has died, so his grandchildren get the goodies, one third.
And he made all that money off of oil, correct?
Yeah.
And kind of being like I want to be righteous when I say this, a strong man for certain organizations.
No, he ran the equivalent of a Gestapo
Yeah.
for Indonesia.
I didn't want to say it like that.
He was Heinrich Himmler for the Indonesians.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So he actually
He
has
carried
ties.
out the contract killings for the American CIA in the Southwest Pacific area and in Asia.
Wow. See, I really didn't want to say all that because I'm trying to get the CIA to come on the show, but I don't think they will. That'd be scary.
Well, the problem with the CIA is most of them were little elitist, rich Ivy Leaguers, which kept them out of touch with the common people, so they never could operate on that basis. So they started bringing people in as contractors, which you see a lot of in the Middle East now,
Yes.
who are more ordinary, hardcore people that got paid to do the dirty deeds.
Dang. Dang. That's that right there is when we look at our nation, right? We should look at it in terms of hard power and soft power. Hard power is our military, all the covert stuff we're talking about. That soft power, which is just as important, is that ideal America is about freedom. We don't torture people. We shoot from the hip, and we're righteous. But see, ever since basically 9/11, our soft power has gone to hell, while our hard power has gone up. And hard power is not necessarily a good thing.
Well, yeah, but see, it's even hard power because it's wealthy. The typical CIA person over the years was somebody like the Kennedys, somebody like the Rockefellers in terms of family background, was a Yale graduate, was tied up with the well-to-do. I'll tell you something that was interesting. I was a yearly lecturer for several years when I was a judge at Yale Law School.
Wow.
Now, let me tell you about these guys. They are interesting. I gave them a list of 5 books that I thought it would benefit them to read. So I sent it in 2 weeks before I got there for my lecture series. You know these son of a bitches that read all 5 long books by the time I got there? They were outstanding students. They had very high IQs. And they came from long, elite families that have a long history in the country of running shit. And they have bred over the centuries into a very intelligent set of people. They were very smart, very enterprising. And they did a hell of a lot of work. I mean, I walked in and I was shocked the first year I did it. These motherfuckers had actually read this shit.
So, I mean, did it change their, obviously, did it change their perspective at all after reading the material?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, they wanted to know, Judge, we are going to be the best damn pro bono lawyers in the country because it behooves us to give back. When we give back, we keep the entire republic at a higher level. And that's good for the country because we are part of this collective.
Yes. Wow. I mean, mean,
And
this.
I go to other law schools, and these son of a bitches are out there trying to skate back. God damn, I got so much fucking work. These guys that I was dealing with at Yale, they didn't have to work, and they had money, but they had a family tradition of excellence. They had been bred to be smart motherfuckers.
Right.
They were good-looking people because Daddy had married a beautiful-looking, intelligent woman from big money. They all tended to be tall and physically able. You know, it was like, goddamn, these fucking body beautiful motherfuckers with genius minds. This is demoralizing.
Not only are they smarter, they're prettier too. Oh my.
Yeah, and they got money.
That's just, speaking of what you were just talking about, like right now, there's a huge debate in the layman's world over these vaccines. Now, you grew up and you saw people with the polio and all these other diseases that vaccines back in the day actually tamped out. Now, what is your opinion? Because you've been with the public and you've seen, probably autism here and there. What is your opinion between the links between vaccines
Look,
and autism?
the diseases that you're getting inoculated against are so goddamn horrible that the occasional somebody is suffering, that's okay. That's acceptable collateral damage.
There it is.
When you saw whole communities reduced, everybody's leaving town, and people were in iron lungs that you may have known from being a member of a family that your parents were acquainted with, and they couldn't breathe without this machine, and they had people standing around wiping the sweat off of their faces because they had a collar around their necks to maintain the pressure in the machine to pump air in and out because their chest were paralyzed. They couldn't breathe on their own. No. Hell with that. Vaccinate. I had chicken pox, both kinds of measles, German and red measles. I had whooping cough. That is some miserable, lousy shit. And I want to punch a son of a bitch right in his goddamn jaw who tells me, there's all of these things. No, motherfucker, you have no idea what you're causing to be spread in the population.
I mean, that's true.
This is some horrible shit.
See, people don't want to hear that, Judge. They want to hear, no, these evil vaccination companies, they're killing everybody and all this, that, and the other. And then you get the other people talking about, well, all these illegals are coming in with all these germs, and that's why it's all coming back and all this. And,
Well, it may be. But God damn it, go ahead and get the vaccinations. Of course, there's an off chance somebody may get sick, but that's one every 300-400, 500,000 people. And considering what these diseases did when they were rampant, that ain't nice.
No, that ain't nice. And I'm glad
when the whole school's out for measles or something, or parents expose their kids in controlled fashion to it so they could make sure they didn't come down with it suddenly. That is crazy stuff.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, you get the measles, you itched for 2 weeks solid. I mean, just the worst damn itch you've ever had at all times. You're covered and caked down with calamine lotion so you don't itch so badly.
Right. And wasn't there also a point in time, Judge, where black folks were kind of denied vaccinations because there just wasn't enough to go around?
Yeah, that too. And there was a genocidal purpose, I thought, where, in certain parts of the country, they kept black folks from getting vaccinated so many of them would get suffered. See, there's problems. You have heart problems, breathing problems, circulatory problems. You'd have nerve problems as side effects and collateral damages to the damage to getting these diseases.
Mm-hmm. This is something that people don't talk about, Judge. At least not. I know a lot of, because the anti-vax things goes hand in hand with like the conspiracy people, And
Oh
you know,
God,
yeah, and the
it was a
problem.
bunch of fools running around talking nonsense with this stuff. These diseases are horrible.
Yes, they are, and this is why I want to talk to you, because you're not coming from a point of, oh, I read this in some sort of report, and I calculated and deferred this and that. No, you actually saw this with your own two eyes. You actually
No,
read
I
this.
had both kinds of measles. I had chicken pox.
Mm,
I had mumps, whooping cough. That is some horrible mess. And I still have side effects, and I'm 70, going to be 72 in a couple of months. I still suffer from this shit.
wow.
That ain't
Hopefully
nothing nice.
people hear this. I hope people hear this and understand. I get where people, we got so much information out here. People are so scared of everything, but there is some things that you just need to look at common sense. Look around, observe your life. I was vaccinated all through the 80s, 70s. And when I went to Air Force, took the shot in the arm. So, the thing is that you got to look at the reality of life. Like you said, there's always risks. Okay, there's always risks that people will be harmed. But there's almost a thought out here now that vaccines or vaccinations in themselves are evil, which they're totally not.
Look here, smallpox. One of the most revolting things you can lay your eyes on is to see someone who's actually suffering from smallpox. That is one of the most grotesque, nasty looking diseases you've ever seen.
Mm,
It is horrible. And people say, and I'm not going to feel it because someone may get autism. Well, god damn,
mm.
you see what the disease looks like, and there is no way in hell. And chickenpox, it sounds innocuous, but you
Yes.
itch, climb the walls, you itch so bad. Kids cry nonstop for days at a time.
And they always tell you don't pop the
German
pumps.
measles, it's only 2 or 3 days, but it's awful. Regular measles, oh, that's 2 weeks worth of suffering.
Mm. Man. See, this is why I'm talking. So, Judge, why do you think people? I mean, other than the money that they may get from a book or what, why are people putting out this type of uh, information? Negative information.
Uh, it's called this factor: the S, the T, the U, the P, the I, and the D factor. Stupid and ignorance.
Yes, yes. So, you heard of like homeopathic remedies or whatever? Um, do you think any of that's valid?
Oh, goddamn, give me a shot at the doctor's office to stop that mess from happening. See, this is just ignorance.
Mm, mm,
Stupid ignorance. And stupid people who don't understand what it means to be ignorant and what it really means to suffer from this kind of stuff.
yeah, it's not pretty. It's truly not pretty. I mean, I remember some of the stories my mom was sharing with me about, seeing the kids up there in St. Louis, unvaccinated and all this and the third, and it's not a very pretty picture at all.
It's not.
But now, do you think the government should have the right to force people to vaccinate or not?
Yes, yes.
Now, how would you, how do you justify that with the Constitution if a person wants to?
It's what you call public health and safety. How can they impose regulations about driving a car and you have to have a driver's license?
Oh,
How can they mandate you got to pay your share of the load by paying taxes based on your income?
oh, I
The
see.
same difference.
Right.
Public safety.
And then all these people talking to sovereign citizen stuff, trying to stand on they're above the law, they're natural human beings. I mean, a lot of this is kind of coming from that mindset. It really goes all hand in hand. Typically, I've talked to sovereign citizens, and they said they turn to be in after 9/11, after they realized that the war, as they said, was wrong because it wasn't Al Qaeda that did the attack. It was basically us or some craziness. But the point is that when you start breaking this stuff down, you start seeing a trend. Like it's like dominoes. Once you start thinking the government's against you, boom. Then it's easy not to vaccinate your children. Then boom. Then it's easy to say I don't want to pay income tax, judge. I'm a natural citizen on the land. I'm a natural man. I'm not. I'm above your laws. You know, and it's like, how do we get these people to come back? To come back off the cliff
Okay,
edge?
let me break it down crudely and basically. If you don't have a social compact, which can require stuff like this, you are a rather singular and kind of bony meal for other large predators.
Oh,
When you act with a social compact where you engage in mutual sustainment and protection with mutual obligations, then you rise to the top.
right.
Now, if you want to be at the bottom, go right ahead. If you want to rise to the top, then you do what's necessary to rise to the top, which means you have to engage in this social compact with each other, and you have an obligation to the rest of humanity that surrounds you not to be a reservoir for infectious agents that may cause a whole lot of people to suffer. Just like you can be drafted or called upon to defend a nation in a crisis, just like when there's an emergency personnel can direct you for purposes of public safety and the public welfare. You should be required to vaccinate yourself so you are not harboring or do not become a reservoir for some very atrocious and horrible diseases.
Now, the thing about that though, we let's just say it like it is. You don't have the right to become a incubator to spread disease to other people. That's a safe thing to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when people try to use mental gymnastics to justify risky behavior and somehow attribute it to some sort of constitutional rights, they're exercising lunacy.
Look, you have rights to do a lot of things, including being a fool. But you only have this right because of the collective that acting together has a lot of power and grants you the daylight to exercise these rights.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I see that. My whole thing is, sort of like, it's sort of like socially, kind of, we're all devolving. You got the huge flat earthers, you got new spiritual cults popping up everywhere as people are becoming disillusioned with Christianity and Islam and other, I guess, traditional religious systems. And then you got this, at the cream of the top, this homosexual feminazi element that's just out to burn and destroy everything.
Well, look at what you're talking about. The rest of us have a chance of becoming a part of tomorrow through our project.
Right.
You're homosexual, that kind of cuts your ass off, doesn't it?
Well, you still can adopt. But yes, you're absolutely right about actual DNA legacies.
Yeah, they don't have much to say about tomorrow, do they?
No. A whole lot to say about today, unfortunately, but nothing to say about tomorrow.
Yeah, but you see, most of the rest of us, at some point in life, start becoming concerned about tomorrow, and that starts dictating what we do today.
Right. Right. I mean, it truly does. I mean, if you try to be halfway responsible, you're going to use your past experiences to justify your future behavior. You know, I'm not going to keep putting my hand on that hot stove, burning it over and over. I'm going to learn. But it seems like a lot of people aren't learning, Judge. They're not only are they not learning, they're actively rejecting any information to the contrary of what they already put in their minds.
They got a word for that. It's spelled stupid.
Well, that's a very nasty word. We can't use the S word. There'll be a revolt in the streets. But you're right. You're right.
Well, stupid people don't do too well in anything except when what they're enjoying was provided by others. They don't fight well. They don't survive well. They don't prosper.
No, no, they do not.
So the arrogance of thinking that I can be a fool is interesting.
Mm, 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 mm. That's but at this point in the game, Judge, it's almost dangerous. It's so dangerous because we have a lot of technology out here. Stupid people get their hands on it. They can reap a lot of damage. I had a guest on the other day, Roman Light. He's affiliated with the Yellow Vest movement in France, but he does a little thing with mathematics on the side. And he said in 2016 they were able to finally do predictive capabilities on whole numbers. That's important in computer coding because if you can predict whole numbers, then you can break any type of encryption that anybody tries to put together. So essentially, since 2016, we are quite literally living in a world where all nuclear codes are hackable. Using this particular method, all your personal information, even though it may be encrypted, is hackable. So there's nothing that is not hackable, and that is a extreme danger when we have thermonuclear devices in the mix.
Yeah,
I don't.
I had a physics major at one point in college. I get you.
And nobody wants to see as frustrated as I often get sometimes with the way society's going. I have never gotten to that point where I actively wanted to see this nation, this planet, a cinder, actually burning in flames. But I feel that a lot of people nowadays don't share that. I think a lot of people, I wouldn't even call it suicidal because they just don't want themselves to go. They want to take everybody else with them.
Yep.
And I want to throw this out here. If you're suicidal, please seek help. There's nothing that you're going through seriously, whether it be diseases, even if you have AIDS or cancer. There's nothing that you're going through that you can't be talked away from the edge. But obviously there are people that want to do that type of behavior, and I guess no talking will ever stop that. But it is I look at that as a terrible waste of potential.
Yep.
Under most cases. Well, I'm just going to shut her down. Today's my daughter's birthday. I got a big 10-year-old. We're going to have some birthday cake and ice cream here. I do appreciate spending the afternoon with you, though, Judge. You got anything else you want to say? Or?
No, it's just people need to start thinking. They need to start filling their heads with knowledge, not silliness.
Right.
Start becoming critical and analytical. I hate to say this because a lot of people will take it the wrong way. Get away from belief and deal with rationality and reason.
Oh, well, yeah.
You can believe the world's flat, but that's not the way reality pans out. So that used to be a strong belief. Start dealing with questioning.
Right.
It might put you, don't try to get anything for nothing. Try to work for it. It builds good habits, even if you don't see it immediately. But it's something in the long term that's good for you.
See, that's what I'm talking about. There's too much of this whole, we're just going to take these people's property or take this and take that, Actually, you sit down, use your brain, think of a better way out of whatever situation you may be in. Just think of a way out of it. That in itself is an exercise in going the right way. Because like you said, if you're just
Yep.
sitting here believing, it doesn't take too much mental belief or mental energy to believe, but it takes mental energy to question any belief.
Yep.
You got to understand the pros and cons. Well,
Okay. Enjoy your daughter's birthday.
Thank you, brother. And I'll be talking to you soon.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too.